Harvard has been conducting a longitudinal study on happiness since 1938. And their big discovery after almost a century of studying happiness is that relationships matter. Without meaning to be rude, I knew that before the age of 10. So if you're interested, let's have a look at why relationships matter. If you've seen other videos I've done, you know there are lots of things that go into building a human being and a strong self-image and being able to live understanding what happiness is. So what I want to do, and I have a script, I always have a script, I want to start with the 5 needs. Alright? Belonging, survival, fun, freedom, and purpose. Now, all of them work toward satisfying us and helping us experience happiness. But the most important, and the reason it's listed first, is belonging. There was a study done in the 1940s by Dr. Renee Spitz. And Renee, the study was, they had 2 groups of babies. And this was not contrived in any way. No one was, trying to do nasty things to babies. They just observed one group of babies that was in a prison maternity ward and another group of babies that was in an orphanage. And they watched the different circumstances. So in the orphanage, the nurses that were there each had 6 or 7 babies for which they were responsible. And imagine babies, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 7 months, okay? Looking after 6 or 7 of those at the same time. That's a lot for one person to do. Then there's the prison maternity ward, where there are nurses, but the mothers can also come into the maternity ward, and they would come in 3, 4, 5 times a day because, again, a 2-month-old, 3-month-old, 6-month-old, especially early, the children need to be fed every 4 to 6 hours. So the mothers would need to be in the nursery every 4 to 6 hours. And so you have nurses that are looking after the babies, making sure they're changed and all that sort of stuff. You also have the mothers coming in and being with their children, being with their baby. And so you can see right away how the babies in the prison maternity ward would get that need for belonging satisfied to a much greater extent than the babies in the orphanage. And initially, first 6-7 months, not a lot of difference. They seemed to be fine. But by the time the children were a year, 12 months, the babies in the orphanage were clearly lagging behind the babies in the prison maternity ward. So we're talking babies, okay, 12 months and under. They have no way of satisfying their survival needs. So their survival needs are being met by people outside, by the nurses, by their moms. Fun. Babies don't have fun. They have no clue what fun is. Freedom. The first thing that's done to a baby is it's wrapped in swaddling cloths to specifically inhibit its freedom of movement. Why? Because babies fail to know these are your fingers and you could poke yourself in the eye. And then purpose. Being a dad, I know that babies basically have 3 functions: eat, sleep, and poop. And you can put in a 4th, they cry. So the other needs have yet to be something that they can even consciously consider. But there is an inherent need for belonging. Is there an inherent need for food? Yeah, absolutely. We all have that. The babies in the orphanage, they were being fed, they were having their diapers changed, all of their physical needs were being looked after, but their need for belonging is what went unmet. And this is what the study by Renee Spitz was all about. The result of not having that belonging, not as a baby, not having a mom or a dad to be there and go coo 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 and to talk to you and to, play with your hands and to make you feel that you belong, even though you have no capacity to understand it consciously. That need to have someone to whom you belong, with whom you belong, is so powerful in human beings that when it goes unmet, we end up getting ill. Our mind functions less adequately, our physical body can become ill, and this is true at any age. Talk with anybody who works in a senior's home, and they will tell you easily the seniors who have regular visitors do much better, are much healthier, are much more aware than the people who never get any visitors. One of the reasons why in a senior's home they bring the seniors out into a common room is so that they have interpersonal relationships. They can talk to each other. They can help stimulate each other. Does that take the place of having family come visit? No. No, it does not. So belonging, that's a huge one. Without belonging, you will never have happiness. I actually have this at the end of the script, but I'm going to go to it now. Okay, because let's be sure that we are talking about the same thing. What is happiness? Harvard has been studying happiness for almost 100 years, for almost a century. It is not that complex, folks. Dr. Maltz, who wrote Psycho-Cybernetics, who researched self-image and confidence and being happy, had a very simple definition for happiness. Happiness is having your thoughts be pleasant a good share of the time. Having your thoughts be pleasant a good share of the time. Does that mean 55%? Does that mean even 50%? No. You might be having a bad day. Everything just seems to be going wrong. But you know what? In the middle of the day, you can think about your dog, your spouse, your children, your sailboat, your golf clubs, the meal you're going to have when you get home. And in the midst of a horrid day, you can go, I love my wife. I love my kids. Man, I am looking forward to that steak sandwich. And you're happy. That's happiness. You could be in the middle of a great family activity, Christmas, woohoo! And in the midst of all of that, you slam your toe into the table. You catch your toe on the coffee table. Whoa, that hurts! And so for a while, you are clearly unhappy. And maybe everybody else in the room is clearly unhappy. They're really upset that you just smashed your toe. But after a few minutes, you kind of go, okay, it's going to be all right. It's going to be fine. And you go back to enjoying Christmas. Now, is Christmas happy? No. Christmas is not happy. Christmas is joyful. Christmas is elated. Christmas is excited. Christmas is bigger than happy. Happy is a very small thing. Happy is kind of like survival. Okay? Is belonging happy? No. Belonging is contentment. Belonging is joy. Belonging can be ecstasy. It's bigger than just happy. Happy is more like survival. Can you get by on crackers and peanut butter? Yes, you can. Can you survive for 3, 4, 5 days with just water? Yes, you can. Is just water the same as a 7-course meal? Well, clearly no. But you can survive on water for several days. You can survive on crackers and peanut butter. You can survive on sardines and toast. That's happiness. Your thoughts are pleasant a good share of the time. That is happiness. And I know already there are people who are going to watch this and go, "This ain't happiness. You don't know what you're talking about. Happiness is blah, 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 blah." Let me walk through the rest of the script and cover some things from Jack Canfield and from Dr. Maltz. And let's see if we can make it a little more apparent that happiness is something that is very easily achievable. And the reason why we have other words is because there are things beyond happiness. So, Jack, he has a circle of life that has 7 areas that he suggests people pay attention to make their life more fulfilling. And I'm looking over that way because obviously I'm doing this in my living room, and my vision board is on there. And my vision board is organized by these 7 areas. They are personal growth, contribution, that's to your community, to your family, to the world around you, relationships, business, health, recreation, and finances. Let's say you are extremely successful when it comes to finances. You have lots of money, lots of wealth. Does that make you happy? Well, initially people will say yes, but the truth is, if you are, for example, Mark Cuban, you're a billionaire. The fact is that looking after that money is a full-time job. And sometimes that full-time job is tedious. Sometimes it's an unhappy thing. You maybe have to sell an asset, or you have to do something that you otherwise wouldn't want to do, but it's the right thing to do to maintain your level of wealth. Okay, so just being wealthy falls short of equaling being happy. This is where you get the whole thing of money can't buy happiness. I think whoever said that was very, very wealthy, and they recognize how much work it can be just looking after money. So it doesn't buy you happiness. Now, it can buy you lots of things, for convenience. It can buy you lots of things that you enjoy, like a piece of art, or a great big TV, or the house that you've always wanted, and help you build an environment that is conducive to your happiness. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these in this much detail, but your relationships. How many of us are in a relationship that absolutely does not make us happy? It's a contentious, stressful, strifeful relationship. Okay, so happy or relationships can absolutely take away our happiness. They can also be conducive to our happiness. If you have a husband and wife who genuinely talk to each other, they work to support each other, the kind of situation where a child comes and says, "Dad, can I do this, that, or the other thing?" Did you ask your mother? No. Okay, let's go ask Mom. Okay, so you can have strong, healthy relationships, and those are conducive to happiness. Everything in Jack Canfield's circle of life, your health. How many people have you seen or met that are in a wheelchair, that are blind or deaf or have some other disability, and yet they're very happy people? So being 100% healthy is not a requirement for happiness. Understanding your health, what you can do and where your limits are, these are things that are conducive to happiness. And it's all pretty simple. Again, there's no need to be an Olympic champion to be happy. There's no need for that level of success. There's no need for that level of health and ability. And quite frankly, if you just on YouTube watch some of the videos from gymnasts and Olympic athletes, there are a lot of things about reaching that level of competitive achievement that are decidedly unhappy. You know, the calluses that a gymnast builds, and then they get torn, and they have to deal with that pain. Just the pain of dealing with sore joints and muscles in the process of training and being able to compete. There are lots of negatives about moving toward being an Olympic athlete. But you take those. Why? Because happiness is having your thoughts be pleasant a good share of the time. Not all the time, not most of the time. In the midst of pain, you can still have the vision of, I'm going to compete at the next Olympics. And that makes you happy. And then there's a piece that Dr. Maltz put together. And I forget exactly what order he put it in. But I arranged it in an order so that the first letters of everything spell out capiche. Because I think capiche, the Italian, to understand. So I found, okay, capiche. So using the labels that Dr. Maltz used, it's choice, association, purpose, environment, act as if, cheer up others, habit. And the first one, choice. Happiness is a choice. We have seen movies about this, we have heard stories about this, people who are in bad circumstances, and they choose to be happy. They choose to look at the sky and enjoy the clouds. They are happy for the weather. They're happy for the fact that they have the ability and the opportunity to change the way things are. Happiness is a choice. I could walk through association, purpose, environment, act as if, cheer up others. Habit. What I'm going to do is touch on act as if and habit. Because the episode just before this one, 116 I believe, I talked a lot about automatic success mechanism. You have this thing in your brain, in your mind, that is automatic. It will go toward the things on which you focus. So, act as if. The best example of this I have ever heard is a story. This boy goes to some Caribbean island, and he sees a guy who comes into town every day with a little cart full of vegetables. He doesn't walk very well. He spends all day selling what little vegetables he has, and then at the end of the day he goes home. And all the time, walking into town, while he's in town, walking home at night, he whistles. And after 3-4 days, the little boy is wondering, how can he whistle? He obviously walks with a limp. His health is less than ideal. He clearly doesn't have very much. He's dressed very poorly. He's barely eking by selling these vegetables. How can he be walking in and out of town every day whistling? So the little boy talks to the man and says, how can you do this? How can you whistle like this? And the older man explains to the child, son, I do not whistle because I am happy. I am happy because I whistle. Act as if. How often have you gone into a situation, it's dark, you're a little bit afraid, and so you start talking to yourself? That's to give yourself confidence. You're acting as if. How often have you been feeling down, feeling, oh man, and you whistle, or you think about your dog, or you think about your spouse, and you feel better? You act as if. And then habit. So these things, choosing to focus on things that make you happy, choosing to act as if that you already have what it is that you want. These are habits that we build. And remember, there's that automatic mechanism in your mind. It's in your whole body. Your whole being is a magnet. And it will draw to you the things on which you focus. So if your habit is to focus on, this went wrong, that went wrong, this person doesn't like me, that person betrayed me, blah, 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 blah. Well, you are a magnet. What do you think you're going to attract? Similarly, if you act as if you're happy, you act as if you're going to achieve what it is you want to do, you act as if you have achieved what it is you want to achieve, and you build the habit of always focusing on the positive, always working to fill your life with PEP, personal empowerment practices. And it's a while since I've mentioned it, but the very first link under the description is a link to the PEP or POOP reference chart. If you have yet to get your copy, get a copy, so that when I talk about PEP and POOP, you will know exactly what it is to which I am referring. So if you build the habit on focusing on PEP, personal empowerment practices, being honest, encouraging others, supporting others, building strong, healthy relationships, then that automatic thing that's in you, that magnet that you are, is going to draw to you positive things. And it is going to open the door to happiness. Your thoughts are pleasant a good share of the time. And then, as things build, you will have the joy of Christmas, the wonder of loving your spouse, the sublime contentment of a good meal. You will have the emotions that go beyond happiness. Happiness, that's the starting point. That's the everyday. Happiness is your casual clothing. And then the other emotions that go beyond it, those are those other things. Joy, euphoria, ecstasy. And I think it's time that we all start doing some research, some synonyms for happiness. Do a Google search for synonyms for happiness. I did. You get a whole list of words. Other things that will hopefully give you pause so that you can think, oh, when I go down to the water and I walk along, that's very sublime. That's contentment. That's joy. There are lots of other emotions that go beyond happiness. They're in the exact same vein as happiness. They just go beyond it. They are superior to it. Okay. I can keep going. And if you've watched other videos, you know I can keep going. Questions and comments, please put them down below. And I'm trying to remember, if you could please, click the thumbs up to say like, and if you could hit the subscribe. The reason I'm asking that is this is YouTube, and those are the two metrics that YouTube uses to determine whether I am succeeding at communicating with you effectively. So all it costs is a couple of seconds, a couple of clicks. I would really, really appreciate it. YouTube will reward me for it. And yeah, thank you very much. Whether you click it or not, I appreciate you being here. Thank you for watching.